Divorce, beheaded and died. Divorce, beheaded, survived. Today's video is about
divorce, babe, divorce.
It's Valentine's season and everyone's breaking up. A few weeks ago, my flatmate was playing some old noughties bangers and one in particular stuck in my head.
We need to let it breathe.
So what's that supposed to be about, baby? Get free up the vibe and stop acting crazy.
With regards to today's topic, I found the lyrics to be apt. All we do is make up, brackets, make up, then break up, bracket, break up. Why don't we wake up and see when love hurts, it won't work, Maybe we need some time alone. We need to let it breathe. Not only does this song rhythmically slap, but the lyrics are also onto something deeper. And I'm sure that you don't need me to point out that celebrity relationships never seem to last. Even celebrity marriages, especially marriages. Lisa Marie Presley and Nicolas Cage, 108 days. Chris Humphries and Kim Kardashian, 72 days. Britney Spears and Jason Alexander, 55 hours. Something don't smell right. Speaking of smells, let's talk about body odor. I'm not like other girls. I don't perspire. Just kidding. Of course I do. I'm just like you. I'm relatable. And my go-to deodorant for the past few years has been Wild, who I am partnering with for today's video. Wild's deodorant and body wash contain no single-use plastic, and they come in premium reusable cases with compostable refills. You save 30 grams of plastic with every refill, and they have sent me this lovely purple case. It has my name on, in case I forget who I am. We all lose ourselves sometimes. Other deodorants I've tried in the past have irritated my skin, but that has never been an issue with Wild, who's powered by plants. They contain no aluminium salts, parabens or sulfates, and all their formulas are certified vegan and cruelty-free. Now, with all these perks, you might be thinking, if it's sustainable and good for your skin, it can't also be ultra protective. But yes, it can, and it is. It provides 24-hour protection, so you don't have to compromise. I've been going to Pilates and yoga a lot lately, and even after, an intense Pilates reformer workout, I've not smelled bad. Whereas in the past, deodorants I've used, I'll sort of get a bit musty during the day. But that's not a problem anymore because I have Wild. Woo! Wild ships worldwide, so make sure to start your flexible subscription today and get 20% off with the code 20TARA. What a deal! What a steal! Go Wild. I'm so excited to be partnering with Wild today. I've genuinely loved their stuff for years, so thank you, Wild. Now, let's get back to business. My background is still a bit boring because I've moved. Again. But I have a new flatmate. Look, it's Percy. Okay, let me get something to make the background a bit more aesthetic. Nice. Much better. Anyways, being famous is great, right? You have money, fans, access to exclusive places, free stuff, yada yada yada. And you might even get to date your celebrity crush because you're also a celebrity. And it appears as if famous people date more people than have hot dinners. Not to shame them, but it does seem like a lot of admin. I suppose it's probably their PAs arranging all their love life stuff and affairs. Imagine getting your PA to organise your booty calls. Mad. Now, with all this, there is a major downside. Your marriage is statistically more likely to fail.
Divorce, babe, divorce.
Oh yeah, I'd just like to make a quick disclaimer, because this is the internet. By the way, if I'm not enunciating very well, because I got my braces tightened recently, oh my god, ow, my mouth hurts so much. None of this is making like a moral judgment on divorce and monogamy and, what relationship should be. A long relationship doesn't necessarily mean superior. You know, if you break up, it doesn't mean you failed. And some people aren't looking for, you know, a single partner to have for life. That's not how they see relationships. And same goes with divorce. Divorce doesn't have to be a bad thing. It can be a good thing that can be celebrated. So yeah, I just want to make that clear. In case you're not familiar with my channel and my sort of beliefs, this isn't some traditionalist kind of thing where it's like, you need to be with one person. A penguin? Penguins? Yeah, they mate for life. It's more just a commentary on why it happens more with celebrities than normies. Now that I've made the disclaimer, you can't get angry with me. You can't criticize me. You can't get mad. Ever. Glad I prevented that from happening. In 2016, the media was aghast by a study that was put out by the Marriage Foundation UK, comparing celebrity divorce rates to civilian divorce rates. It was double. The research revealed that the celebrity divorce rate over the first 14 years of marriage was 50%, double the UK divorce rate at the same time, which was at 26%. Celebrities' record is worst of all in early years of marriage. In the first year, celebrities are almost 6 times more likely to divorce than non-celebs. The price of fame, eh? But hold your horses. Let's take a quick look at how this study was carried out and by whom. So they looked at 488 celebrity couples who married between 2001 and 2010. That is pretty minuscule compared to the size of the general public. And I understand that the sample size is always going to be way smaller because there's more non-famous people than famous people. However, my first question is, who qualifies as a celebrity and who is deciding? That qualification seems quite arbitrary. You know, some might refer to Colleen Rooney as that woman who's married to that footballer, whereas I would refer to her as the greatest investigative mind of our generation. And what's even more concerning is the mission by said think tank. In case you're not familiar with what a think tank is, it's a research institute that does research and advocacy for a social or economic policy. And to be fair, they're always going to have some kind of bias and agenda. And this think tank are straightforward with theirs. Basically, their whole thing is married, good, unmarried, bad. If you've seen my 2022 Valentine's video essay on amatonormativity, you'll already know why I have an issue with society putting marriage on a pedestal. But that isn't what today's video is about. My point being, when looking at studies and statistics, be mindful of who's finding them, because their ideology will inform those findings, and it will inform the questions they ask, etc, etc. Side note, the people in this organisation made such a hoo-ha about the equalisation of civil partnerships. So this was back in 2019 in the UK, where they made it so that hetero couples could also get civil partnerships, as well as gays. So both types of couples could get either a marriage or civil partnerships. And there was pushback, and some of it understandable. You know, members of the LGBT community pointed out that it seemed a bit unfair that after one couple making a high-profile fuss about the fact that they couldn't get a civil partnership, the law is suddenly changing, whereas it took decades for gays to get the same right. But as for the Marriage Foundation, their issue was that it wasn't the same as marriage. And marriage is the best. It's the bomb, according to them. You know, and they wrote a few blog posts on the matter. And I have to say their opposition to the whole issue just amounts to a real nothing burger. How would you feel if your wife or husband woke up one morning and asked if you'd like to end your marriage and form a civil partnership instead? You know what, Harry? I think I'd be fine. Because A, that would never happen, and B, I mean, they're not asking to break up, so I think we're all good. You know, he mentions multiple times in the article about how already married couples might want to switch to civil partnerships, but I really think he's undermining the human tendency to avoid admin at all costs. There is no reason to think that switching will do anything for stability. At very best, it may satisfy a handful of ideologues. At worst, it risks undermining stability among many more couples where one spouse wants to enforce a switch and the other does not. There are many social justice issues that need to be tackled in Westminster. This is not one of them. So his argument concludes that the government should spend their time on better things. But one could easily turn that back around on you. I mean, you're getting riled up over people having more options. They're still legally tied to each other. It just seems awfully pedantic. They're basically doing the same thing, but with a different name. They're doing the thing that you want. You know, there's actually very little legal difference between the two during the partnership and during the dissolution/divorce and during death. You know, and to be fair, someone could respond by saying, you know, then why do you need both? Why do you need to change it? You know, I get that, but I would say that having it available to all couples normalizes it. It's a bit like how when straight couples or straight appearing couples use the word partner. I think this is a good thing. You know, it's good for people with non-binary partners. It's a nice gender-neutral term so that we don't force people to come out. And also, it's kind of more concrete and serious than boyfriend or girlfriend, which can feel a bit juvenile. So yeah, just let people have their greater choice of ice cream flavours. It really doesn't affect you. Chill out.
I also want to add a more serious point that the messaging that marriage breakdown is like the biggest tragedy in the UK, blah, 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 plays into the culture of guilting people into staying in bad marriages, you know, whether that be for the kids, social pressure, etc., etc. And that particularly harms people in abusive relationships, obviously. And as for, you know, this foundation's stance on like gay marriage or sort of other human rights, I couldn't find anything particularly egregious. The reason I'm not like ripping into them in this video is because I haven't actually found anything that damning, but if you come across something, just know I'm not dying on their hill. I'm not in their corner, so
Alrighty. So, while that study by the Marriage Foundation did have some useful findings, I found their definition of celebrity way too vague. But you know how they say in debating, it's important to define your terms. So, you know, instead of just sitting on my YouTube commentary Grinch chair, maybe I should walk the walk. Maybe I should carry out my own study. Cats, I'm filming, could you not have a brawl right now? So, what I did, as suggested by my flatmate, was to compile all the winners of the Academy Awards from its first year in 1929 to the most recent year, last year, and basically just tally up their divorces. And by the way, I'm just standing in front of a green screen, so I'm actually pointing at nothing. I could be pointing at anything right now. So we've got a rigid definition of celebrity. So we're all on the same page now. Here I am in my statistician era. I just can't help but be a woman in STEM. Oh, and you might quite rightly ask, Sara, why are you placing so much importance on marriage? And I hear ya. But the thing is, again, I want to make something concrete, something easy to define. It's much easier to determine the end of a marriage, because it's a legal procedure, than the end of a relationship. I think if we were to count celebrity relationship breakdowns, we would be in for a lot of greyness and ambiguity, because A, a lot of them are publicity relationships, and B, if you have two people of the opposite sex in the same room for too long, people will say they're dating. Heteronormativity, what can I say? Or, you know, you'll get people who have gone on one date, but it didn't go anywhere. But if you went on one date with someone, you wouldn't be like, oh, we dated. You'd say, we went on one date and it didn't go anywhere. All the best. So yeah, marriage, divorce, because it's much more concrete. I like concrete. I eat concrete. I grow it in my garden.
Well, you can't grow concrete.
You can. See you, Cameron. Cheerio.
So yeah, here's the spreadsheet I made. Ooh, hot girls use Excel. So yeah, basically I found all the Academy Award winners on Wikipedia, went on their Wikipedia pages to see if they'd been divorced, and if it wasn't immediately obvious, I'd then Google it. So yeah, no room for error there. But yeah, here is all my findings that I've popped into a spreadsheet and my very professional, foolproof study. If something is in a spreadsheet, it must be fact, right? Now, let's look at my findings. Spoiler, there's a buttload of divorce here. I'm not even joking. Even in the 20s, 30s, when divorce was much more difficult to get, people were getting divorced out of the wazoo. In fact, it seems to be especially in these decades, even for the women. They've slowed down in recent years, and I think some of that is due to the fact that people are getting married later. Side note, old names are very funny. They sound like names you'd make up to make fun of British people. Tuesday, Mary Pickford, Wallace Beery. No way is that your name. Stop lying. Wallace, stop lying. Oh, he's dead. RIP. So we've got 192 wins here. I want to note that the Wikipedias for Best Actor / Actress mentions that there's been 95 awards times 2, so that's 190 awards, awarded to 85 actors and 79 actresses, 164 people. Marlon Brando refused his second Oscar. I don't know where the extra win has come from. There was a year when there was a draw, so I'm gonna assume that's why. So my data shows 202 divorces / annulments. I've included annulments in this, with the mean average being 1.05 per person. And the winner for the most divorces goes to Elizabeth Taylor. Slay. It's notable that there are women who won Oscars in the 30s and 40s who have had their fair share of divorces. Look at this! Look at all these divorces! They're collecting them like Pokemon cards. To be clear, this isn't a moral judgment. Divorce is good. If you need a divorce, get one. It's none of my goddamn business. Just interesting, innit? Bring back my girls. Bring back my girls, said their spouses. Spice? Yeah, the plural of spouse is spice. I speak Latin. It's not a dead language because I speak it. So... yeah, I think this is very interesting, sociologically, because back then, divorce was much more difficult to obtain for everybody, let alone women. It wasn't until 1969 where no-fault divorce was introduced by Reagan in California when he was governor. And basically, a no-fault divorce is when you only need one person to file for divorce, and there doesn't have to be a reason. They don't have to prove wrongdoing. And here's a bit of law for you. Some say that the reason Reagan signed this bill was because his first wife, Jane Wyman, accused him of mental cruelty in order to obtain her divorce. And this was in 1948, the same year she won an Oscar, which I think is such a girl boss move. She was like, I don't need no man, I've got an Oscar, sling your hook. And allegedly he did not want the divorce, so... but yeah, before this, you had to prove wrongdoing by your spouse. You had to have a reason to get divorced, and one that was judged as a good enough one by a judge. So, one being me, would infer that you would need a good divorce lawyer in order to successfully get a divorce. And wealthier people are more able to pay for this. Da-doy. And you can even apply this to today where, no-fault divorce is ubiquitous. It's still costly. So yeah, it's not actually surprising that it's easier financially for showbiz folks to get divorced. No surprises here as of yet, except that Chelsea Handler and 50 Cent dated. Just soak that in for a minute. Oh, and this lady, who I always get mixed up with her, is married to Borat. Not the actor, but the character. To be clear. Now, putting aside the practical reasons for celebrity separations, let's explore the more abstract, emotional ones. Relationship issues that are particular to fame. Picture this. You're in a relationship with someone successful, good-looking, and thousands of other people would love to date them. You haven't seen them for more than a month because you're working in different countries, and you see a garish tabloid article with a photo of them and their latest co-star with big hearts all around them. They talk about what an amazing couple they'd make, how perfect they are for each other. Now, you also have your successes. People also say that you're hot, but you are human, and all this shit starts to make you feel a bit insecure. It gets in your head and causes you to have doubts in your partner and your relationship, which causes chasms, and eventually you can't handle it, and you two part ways. Now, you might hear this and think, womp womp, but I got something to tell you. Celebrities are human, most of them. Just because people are rich and attractive doesn't mean they don't get insecure and jealous. Even if no cheating is occurring, it takes a very strong-willed person to see your partner being shipped with other people all the time and to not let it get to you. Couldn't be me, which is why I would never date another super duper successful YouTube poggers star. I'm sorry. But yeah, just want to settle the rumors that the cow is not dating Mr. Beast. It's just gossip. And here's another thing. Showbiz careers have ebbs and flows. There are times where your partner might be more successful than you, and that could lead to resentment. As someone who used to want to be an actor but then quit because I have too much of a thin skin, so now my job is being a YouTuber, make it make sense. Even with friends, there would be this kind of competitiveness. It would be hard not to get envious. But yeah, getting press attention can make you agoraphobic, and then you spend less quality time together. Naturally, this would make maintaining a relationship more difficult. So yeah, two people in the spotlight isn't exactly a recipe for a stable relationship. It seems as if even the fan favorite celebrity couples can't make it to the end. On Instagram, I asked, which celebrity breakups upset you the most, and the most popular answers were Taylor Swift and Joe Alwyn and Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone. I agree, they were both cute couples. R.I.P. Now, what is the solution for all this? If it even matters. Does it really? People are dying, Kim. So let's just say you're famous. Kylie Jenner, if you're watching this, here's some advice. And you want a long-term, stable, consistent relationship. Might the solution be to marry a non-famous person? Ugh. Couldn't be me. But it works for Matt Damon and that guy from Wedding Crashers, who both refer to their wives as civilians. Vince Vaughn said during an appearance on Live with Regis and Kelly, "She's a civilian, which is good." Matt Damon once said to Esquire, "I got lucky. I fell in love with a civilian. Bit weird, but I'm happy for you." But yeah, maybe there's something to be said about the symbiosis that occurs when only one half of a couple is in the spotlight. With the other being a civilian. There'd be less competition in the relationship. And I think this would be the case, with any kind of job. I think if you have two partners in the same field, even if it's chiropracting, is that the right chiropractory? There would be competition. But especially in the case of famous people, there's less external pressure because there's less press attention if they're dating a normie. Some celebrities have argued that only a partner who is also in the spotlight can understand and put up with the trappings of fame. But Damon believes that pairing up with a civilian is precisely how he's kept any sense of normalcy in his life. Just look at how different his experience with the paparazzi has been to that of Affleck's. Like him, Affleck also dated several famous women, Paltrow, Jennifer Lopez, and ended up marrying Jennifer Garner. And while their relationship seemed as suburban as could be, except for the whole Nannygate fallout, photographers were always on the hunt for a snap of the Affleck-Garner brood out in parks or on playdates. In contrast, Damon has managed to continue being a relatively ordinary parent to his 4 daughters while living in New York and Los Angeles. They can try to stake me out, but they're always going to get the same story. Middle-aged married guy with 4 kids. Damn, journalists are really shipping Matt Damon and his wife hard. Apologies in advance, I might butcher her name. Unlike other non-famous spouses of A-listers, Barroso has never tried to use her husband's status to further her career. There has been no cookbook, no producing career, no full court press on social media. So in short, they argue that having someone completely uninterested in fame protects the couple from excess competition and speculation. That being said, does this go both ways? And I mean with the straights. Would the press be as supportive of a super famous woman with a normie male partner. I know she isn't a Hollywood star, but I remember when AOC's husband got revealed and people were really dunking on him hard. And then on the flip side, when Keanu Reeves brought a date to an event that was his age, he was praised as being down to earth. Basically, my point is, why can't we just let successful women enjoy their relationships in peace? When famous men in Hollywood marry so-called normal women, their relationship is instantly praised as loving, healthy, and aspirational. But when successful women spark up a relationship with a relatively unknown man, battling egos and threatened masculinity are immediately called into question. For example, I don't know which people, but there are people who claim that Taylor Swift and Joe Alwyn's relationship ended due to him not being able to handle her level of fame. And this is allegedly also the case with Ariana Grande and her ex-husband Dalton Gomez, who was a real estate broker. So, you know, she's much more suited to someone super duper famous like SpongeBob. In the article I just referenced, there's a dating coach who argues that in such relationships, the man can come to resent his partner for being more successful. And, you know, with the whole gender thing, that wouldn't surprise me. But I would argue that even just speculating about whether he feels emasculated can be a pressure on the relationship. You know, he could have no issue in the first place, but if everyone around you's like, oh god, do you feel like such a loser next to your super hot, successful wife when you're just a loser? That might start to get to you. You know, and this is like the whole cheating speculations in the press. You just have to have a super duper thick skin to date someone famous. I recently watched a video by Ashley Norton on the whole 5 seconds of summer lore, and one of the top comments was like, dating a boy band member is a death wish, and it's so true. But yeah, you have to have a super duper thick skin to have a bunch of people constantly speculating about your private life. And perhaps a civilian wouldn't be able to handle this as well because they're not used to it. But I wouldn't know because I'd never date a non-celebrity. Yuck. On a brighter note, here's a bunch of A-listers, maybe I'm being generous to some people here, whose relationships have survived for a long time and are still together at the point of this video, as far as I know. My personal favourite being Fred and Daphne from Scooby-Doo.
Offered so much more than every other cartoon. It was so ahead of its time. It had a story. They worked hard to figure it out, and it wasn't gender specific. It wasn't a boys cartoon or a girls cartoon or any of those things.
It was a talking dog, you know what I mean?
So one question remains. Regarding this particular topic, I mean, if you want a whole answer to the God thing, then sling your hook. But yeah, does any of this even matter? Why should we even care if celebrities can have long-term relationships? And I would say it's the same answer as you would get to the question of why should we even care about celebrities at all? I'm not here to make a judgment on parasocial relationships. I don't think they're inherently bad. I don't think the existence of celebrity culture is inherently bad. It has always existed and always will, you know, before celebrity magazines, it was the town crier. Apparently, I wasn't there. What I do think is problematic is the fact that we dehumanize celebrities. And that isn't a fresh take. The dehumanization of particularly female celebrities is a long-standing issue that still persists to this day. But yeah, I think there is a good side to this, in that, well, it's good-ish. It's a form of escapism for us, famous people's suffering, that is. But you know, it can be a source of comfort for us normies, because like, you know, if even Shakira gets cheated on, maybe, you know, you're not bad. Maybe it's not you. Maybe men are just trash. But the dark side, of course, is the schadenfreude we get from public suffering. It does seem strange that being in movies means that your private life is, you know, up for public consumption. It doesn't seem fair, does it? Where in the contract is that written? Oh well, we're all gonna die anyway. Thanks for watching. For today's pet shout out, I'm actually gonna shout out my new flatmate, Percy. She's such a good girl.
Hi.
She's very chatty. and she's very well behaved. If you're wondering how she gets along with my children, her and Siggy, absolutely fine. They're good girls. Miss Ella, on the other hand, it's a bit of a love-hate relationship. I feel like this image captures their dynamic perfectly. You know, it's getting better with time. She does find him very annoying, don't we all? But as far as mixing two cats goes, it's actually going pretty well. So yeah, shout out Percy, we love you. You're a good girl. So yeah, if you like this video, make sure to subscribe, or if you really liked it, feel free to become a patron if you fancy. No pressure. Speaking of, thank you to the patrons on my Patreon for keeping this channel alive. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye.